Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Jane Bloodborne's House of Eyeballs. Just gonna power up this save file. How you all doing this evening? Welcome. Thanks to Shark Sorbet for the Twitch Prime sub. Ooh, that feels good to say. That feels like some interaction content we're working with there. That's cool. I like it. Oh, how's everybody doing? Sound off in the chat if you're doing okay. Oof, it's been a while. It's been exactly a week since I powered on this game. And yeah. Here we are in the Hemwick Channel Lane. Oh, Will is in the chat telling me they didn't get a kebab. That sucks. That really sucks that you didn't get the kebab. I wish you'd gotten the kebab. I'd be tweeting hashtag Team Kebab right now. If I was at Twitter. But Twitch chat kind of monopolizes my phone. So if anyone is just joining us, we're at the Hemwick Channel Lane, which is a sort of rural offshoot of Central Yarnum, and we are here for one reason and one reason alone, just so we can kill the Witch of Hemwick, the boss of this area, because she is impeding our progress in subtle ways. Oh my gosh. Another 1-bit donation. That's so generous. Thank you so much. What another bit? That gives me 2 whole bits total. That's so many. Precious. Okay, we're just gonna work our way through here because we've kind of had most of our look through this area. We've not got too much to talk about anymore. So this first part of the stream is just going to be a case of bumbling through here and trying to get this boss dealt with as quickly as possible. Oof. Regression is in the chat talking about the friendly crow that we met last time. I do remember the friendly crow that we met last time. I've decided for now that it's a reincarnation of Eileen the crow, and its non-violence towards us is a sign that it has forgiven us. So thanks for that. Ugh. That attack is a lot. That dash attack is a great deal. Wasn't there going to be like a dog? Oh yeah, there it is. Lol. Get in that tree, you coward. Ugh. Okay. Again, I'm going to try and avoid pulling these guys because they're too thick for me. Not really. Not really prepared to fight these things every single time. Hopefully their patrols kind of move them away from or past me in some way. We get to avoid those dogs, which I like. I like to do that. Oh, I like this area a lot. Like, in a very gothic game, this area manages to be... I mean, we don't get the, the developed Victorian gothic like we do in Central Yarnum, but like... There's just skulls and gravestones everywhere. We go from littering the scenery with coffins and such to just the most gravestones. Look at them all. There's so many. I dig these graves. I love them. What is down there? Something is in that chest, but I'm not too interested in it right now. Oh, hello. Well, luckily, we got past them this time, which is nice. Which means we have to go in here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there are no more enemies between us and the boss, so I'm just going to get owned by that hammer and rush the boss. Now, I have not fought this boss in a very, very long time, so we'll see how well I do. See, there's enemies that not quite de-aggroing, but they're not particularly invested. Oof. In all of the active frames on this lad. Absolute unit. Right, where's the switch? Do we have to bump into her? I don't remember anything about this boss. She summons long friends. Ooh, there she is. Okay, so there's another one there. What do we... So we just kind of want to avoid these tall boys. Make sure we can see as much of the screen at once as possible. Just try and see all of the area so we can rush her down when she blinks like she just did. Now, can we... Oh, we can. Oh, I love that. Big old visceral attack. Okay, can we do that one more time? Possibly. Now, I know the thing about this boss, and that's that there's another one. But where? Maybe I should kill some of these tall friends. They don't seem particularly interested in me, which is quite funny. Ooh, there she is. Oh yeah. Arcane attacks. Those are something I'm extremely not ready for. Oh, it's so fast. I love it. Ooh. What, she was totally there? What the hell? Oh, hello. Okay, I'm gonna go around. Avoid those nasty bolts of arcane damage. Ah, rude. Extremely rude. Jeez. Okay, the other one's been rezzed. This is a bad time. Why wasn't I moving there? That's super weird. Must have gotten caught on something. How curious. Chat is discussing the cheese strategy for this boss, and honestly, I don't hate it right now. I think I'm going to try one or two more times, and then I think we might explore the implications of making this boss slightly easier. But for now, I'm going to give that another go. But this time, I'm not going to fight all of these monsters, or indeed humans, because I don't want to do that. It's interesting. I'm not really sure why I got caught there, but hey. Oof. kind of disappointing thing about that boss is I got completely owned by the non-minions part of it. Like, she just bodied me. She just bodied me good. Good and pure. Unlike me, I'm not good and pure. I killed the crow lady. That makes me bad. I should definitely be doing... wait, no, should I be doing that? Maybe not. Like, the visceral attack is good and strong. Decisions. Cool thing about this game. It's an active decision whether you want to split your weapon or not. Or transform your weapon, I guess. It doesn't always split. Where is... I guess I'll kill that thing, and she'll turn up to summon another one. Ugh. So for this thing, I want to split. In all of the active frames on this lad. Why did that happen? Where does which? There she is. Come up and get me. Ooh, we get another hit in. That's interesting. I think I might try and be extremely greedy with that next time. Where is she? Ooh, there you are. Look. Because if she is not invincible as soon as she gets up, it might be possible to time this. Yeah, that's really cool. Hit her again. Is that her there? No. Yes. This is the other one. That's really funny. Kill her before her health bar even shows up. And nope, that's another tall friend. Where the witch? Ooh, there she is. Again, might not be her. Oh, this is this one. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. Huh. Cool, that is a very generous visceral attack window. Okay, she dead. Well, she got 0 health. Oh no, bad times. Oh, I'm dead. Rat. My skull opened me up all the way. That's a really tedious way to die. Whoa, is Will saying in chat that we used to think that barnacles were geese eggs? That's so cool. Quite like to get this over and done with quickly so we can move on to something slightly more interesting than rushing this boss. I think if I die one more time, I'll start choosing this boss, because I just don't really want to fight it very much. Because, for anyone who is also not aware, our build involves us taking a slightly different route through this game, which necessitates us doing this before we go through the Forbidden Woods, because we want to rush to a particular weapon that we need to complete this area for. But hopefully, we should be able to start with this stream. Okay, where's my witch? There she is. Over yonder. Oh, and yeah, there we go. Oh. Rats. Transforming your weapon, kids. Not even once. When did that even happen? I have no idea. Ugh. Oh, there she is. Whoa. Just soak up those invincibility frames. Hello. Oh. Come on. Am I going to kill this one before the other one is dead? That's an interesting line. Yeah, this super fast, like, charge attack is ooh, Jesus, okay, this is a problem. Them being so close to each other is not... Oh, weapon at risk. We found it! We found the fourth thing I dislike about Bloodborne. Hooray. It's weapon degradation. Why is it in the game? Oh my lord. It has no place whatsoever in this game. Especially when they try and balance weapons with respect to it. Like, the Tonitrus, which is a weapon that this build could have used, but isn't, is for some reason balanced so that if you transform it a lot, it degrades faster than anything else. Like, so, but all this means is that you have to repair it more often than normal, which is like, that's barely gameplay for Bloodborne. It just kind of happens. Owned. Alright, come on. No! No! Okay, we're good, we're good. But we're alive anyway. Did she teleport after that? Sad. Okay. We just need to avoid those arcane bursts one more time? Maybe two more times? Ooh, there they are. And we did it. We avoided them. Didn't make with this real attack. Sad. Okay, this time. For real. And then we can move on, hooray, to somewhere slightly more interesting than Hemwick Lane. Ooh, she's flanked by... there we go. And nope, the other one's gotten back up. Awesome. Is it possible? Oh. I've made such a huge mistake. Oh my lord. I got greedy there. I just want this to be over. Please. Please. Where was that fired from? Over there. Wow, that's a long way away. No! I did not know she fired 3 times. That's so bad for me, oh my lord. Are you serious? Wow. I cannot believe she's still alive. That's amazing. Video games are good. And my favourite thing about video games is miscounting damage numbers while bosses respawn. Like, I love that. I love that so much. Die! Oh my lord, die. Definitely choosing this boss if I die this time. Cannot be bothered with this. Ooh, hello. Oh, there you are. Not this time. Not this time. Prey slaughtered. Jesus. Video games, folks. That's all of them. Okay. So I didn't talk about it very much because I had not fought that boss in a long time, and I didn't feel particularly confident trying to talk about it while I was fighting it. But basically, I really like the visual design that's going on with that boss. I really like that it is a... So it's a sort of... What is that? Is that all wood sounds? That's kind of weird. So it's a sort of diminutive figure. It matches a lot of the visual themes that we've seen already. They have the weird head claw that several enemies that we've seen so far have had. They had... they also have, notably, a load of barnacles growing off their back, which again ties into this imagery of sea life that we've seen before. That the otherworldly or the otherwise beyond will use the visual motif of sea life in this game in a really interesting way. And I also really like that it does, I think someone in the chat mentioned that it is a boss that is characterized, like I didn't do it because I don't like fighting the boss that way and I don't think it's very effective, but your first time fighting this boss, you'll probably spend most of your time trying to manage a unique mob a unique monster that it summons. And I think that's really interesting. I think that as a sort of action set piece, I think that's something that you don't get a lot in games like this, and it's a really interesting dynamic. This dynamic of almost like a king and his bannerman or something, like just a unique knight-like unit that protects this unit and gives it a fighting capacity that creates two unique movesets that work well together. So like the witch will trap you with her arcane bursts, and these long walky boys will shank you up with their weird sickles. I think that's cool. However, I do not think it is a good boss design. I think it is ultimately quite tedious to play in a way that doesn't feel to me it doesn't gel with the themes of Bloodborne very well. Like as you saw, I elected not to participate in fighting the summoned mob of this boss. Like I just chose not to engage with an entire moveset because it doesn't fit together properly for me, and that's what I think about it. Basically, I don't like it, but it's one of the least interesting bosses, and it is behind us now. So we're going to first of all trundle down here. Open this up. Oh my gosh, it's Funkstar. Hey Funkstar, welcome to the stream. And also hi to everyone else who turned up while I was getting frustrated at that boss. Hi Deanie, hi Lotus, hi everybody. Hey everyone. Rune Workshop tool. Now this is fun because runes are good and we want to have them. So go us. We're gonna poodle back to the Hunter's Dream, and what we're gonna do? We're gonna do some low-key admin before we continue. Where will we continue to? How are we doing for supplies? Okay, we have 21 blood vials and just a whole heap of bullets. Okay. Can we upgrade our blade? Oh yeah, we need to fucking repair our blade, because game's good. Oh, we could do that. Should we do that? I think we shouldn't pull the trigger on that immediately. So memory altar. Okay. So this rune workshop badge that we got This rune workshop badge that we got allows us to memorize a Carol rune to acquire its Eldritch Strength. So these are items that you find throughout the game, and what they are is they're runes. They're sort of ancient symbols that you memorize, you commit to memory for your hunter, and they give you bonuses. So this one gives you a higher blood vial maximum. This one gives you more blood echoes. Blah blah blah. And they're all pretty neat bonuses. And oh, damn, lost the Wi-Fi network connection. Rats. And I think this is really interesting. This is something that they is kind of a vague thematic overarching theme for Bloodborne. Is this idea of runes, this idea of the memory of the hunter? Because so not only do we have these runes that we can memorize that physically enhance us, make us change us, give us abilities beyond our own, beyond normality. Like the idea of memorizing or holding sacred these ancient ideas is augmenting you. Also, in our basic items, we have where is it? I've probably gone past. No, there it is. There. So we have the Hunter's Mark, which is a dangling upside down rune etched in one's mind, which is a kind of a weird way to describe a use item. And it's this baked into the very core of the game is this idea that weird runes and symbology they have a palpable physical effect in this game. And it enhances this idea that the world is a world of dreams, and the ideas of history and the ideas of history and the ideas of the way that history permeates through to the present is a very physical thing in Bloodborne. I like that a lot. Focusing hard enough on this symbol, which by the way is a dead ringer for the brand of the sacrifice from Berserk, is a physical act. It does something to you. It does something for you. I like that a lot. And obviously this serves a very what am I going to say here? This serves a very clear development purpose for the game, right? And it's the same reason that the dark side is a usable item in the Dark Souls games. And is there an equivalent in Demon's Souls? Who knows? The point is that they serve a very clear development function in that at the cost of something relatively meaningless, your blood echoes, your souls, you can return to a checkpoint, which is great if, for example, you get caught on a bit of the level you maybe weren't meant to be exploring and suddenly can't go anywhere or do anything, which means that as long as you're not falling, you can get out of that if you want, which for a game that saves your exact position relatively frequently is quite a useful developmental tool. But weaving that into the narrative of the game is one of Dark Souls and indeed Bloodborne's massive strengths, and this is how we can see it here. Also, I just want to point out that this is as clearly a symbol. It's etched into one's mind. It's a symbol that we've memorized. It's a symbol that we're thinking about. We can think about constantly without any effort or thinking about it too much. Whereas the Bold Hunter's Mark is it references the rune etched into your mind, but it's on a piece of paper. I think that's really interesting. You can use it as like a visual aid to help draw you back when thinking about stuff is maybe too difficult or too traumatic. I like that. It's neat. But knowing these things that we know, I think probably the line is to buy some blood vials, because we don't really need more levels where we're at right now, and that actually is a decent amount of blood vials to see us through this stream. So, what now, you ask? I hear you all rapturously cry. Well, we've probably finished in Yharnam, Central Yharnam for now, and we have defeated the Witch of Hemwick, which has completed the Hemwick Channel Lane. So, next up, I believe, is the Forbidden Woods. Now, how do we get to the Forbidden Woods, or what even is the Forbidden Woods, I hear you say, and you'd be right to say that. So we're not going to any of these places right now. We're in fact going to go back to the... Which of these? Let's go to the Grand Cathedral. So, the chat is asking if we're going to be going to Canhurst now. If anyone doesn't know what Canhurst is, don't worry, you'll find out. And yes, we are going to Canhurst now, and we're going to go. We need to go there via the Forbidden Woods, pretty much, because there's some things that need doing before we can actually get there. So yeah, back to the Grand Cathedral. Remember when we were here last? Only last week we were here. What up? Completely owned. Ow. Rude. Oh, what? Okay, cool. That's hilarious. So yeah, that was Frenzy, which is something I mentioned briefly when the meter first came up in well, the last time we moved past these enemies, and it's a sort of a unique ailment for this game, because I guess the other sort of status bars are they're familiar from Dark Souls, right? You have poison, you have worse poison, and then things like bleed and stuff that build up and then burst, and you take a load of damage. Frenzy is a bit different. Frenzy is when well, like you see that weird aura on those crosses, like. Once one of them hits you, Frenzy starts happening, and the meter kind of just keeps going up. And you can see when it pops, you just take a bunch of damage. I mean, actually, I had very little health there, but if you were, if I'd had more health than that, you would have seen that Frenzy just does a huge bunch of damage. And the thing about Frenzy that you kind of maybe don't notice the first few times it happens, because after these enemies it kind of goes away for a while, is that Frenzy damage scales with your insight. So the more insightful you are, the bigger that meter in the top right is, the more damage you take from a Frenzy pop. In fact, the more susceptible you are to the Frenzy meter increasing to begin with. And that's really cool. That's really interesting, because the game kind of leaves insight to you to think about what insight means and what, like, how that impacts your character, how that impacts your play. And I think that's really cool, because pretty much every other thing in the game, like the way in which you interact with it is very much like, how would I describe it? It's very much in a sort of normal gamey way, I guess. Like, all the other stats, like, vitality gives you more health, endurance gives you more stamina and stuff like that. These are all what you would expect. They're all fairly self-explanatory. Whereas the most sort of mysterious system, the idea of Frenzy, the idea of insight, is completely beyond you, and they don't explain it really. It just kind of is there. So yeah, and it's a really interesting example of a sort of numerical stat in the game becoming a pretty important part of its narrative. Am I going the right way? I think I might not be going the right way. Yeah, I'm not going the right way. Ooh, he was invincible there. That's weird. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. Yeah, I don't think I'm going the right way. That's fine. Time is a flat circle. Where am I now, even? But yeah, if anyone remembers from, I guess it would be a couple of streams ago now. I'm looking for the room where you the doorkeeper asks for a password and then just has a little laugh at you, because if anyone remembers, touching the skull after defeating Amelia gave us the password, which is the mantra of the school of Bergenworth, which is fear the old blood. And I think I've overshot it again. I've managed to miss it twice. That's pretty impressive. Ooh. So I've been down there, so I want to go in there, yes. Sprinting is starting to hurt my index finger. What up, Crow? And ooh, that was a weird noise. Yeah, here we go. Okay, cool. Ah, here's our friend. Is it Alfred? I can never remember.
Good to see you safe. Now, let's think up something to discuss.
Let's think up something to discuss is an amazing line. I love that so much. Now that we're here, let's think of something to talk about. Like, is anyone ever more transparently like dedicated to being friends than Alfred? Who's like, ah, you there? Hilarious. I'm not particularly interested in what Alfred has to say.
It has been a pleasure.
Okay.
Good blood guide your way.
So you're talking about good blood, but like so far we're pretty committed to the whole line of actually maybe the bad blood is good too. So let's ignore him. We don't like him. We haven't expressly killed him. We don't like him. Some more good as hell voice line. Fear the old blood. So these doors, they swing open. We get this big, dilapidated Gothic building, and our doorman is, of course, a skeleton. Already dead. 2 capital letters too. Like, they're serious. Already dead. And some knowledge. So, as we descend further from Centurianum, I guess, I would just want you to think about the kinds of things that happened the last time we took a downwards staircase from the Cathedral Ward area of Yharnam. What kinds of things have we been primed to expect from a lower altitude than Centurianum? And was it a forest? Again, like, this is just such neat level design. Like, you arrive, you walk down some stairs, and there's this cliff, and there's like there's a little parting in the gravestones that you want to walk towards, and hopefully you don't walk off the cliff, and you can see it. There's the whole level, just wrapped and tied up in a little bow for you, just right there. You get to have a nice little look at that. Like, you'll go to all of these places, you can see the enemies moving around in them. You're anticipating that. That feels really good. That feels really good to be able to see from the start all of the places you will go in what is a pretty tightly folded game so far. Being able to maintain that folding in such a way that you can see it all from one vantage point is cool as heck. That's some good ass level design. Can you get ready for some shanking? I hate these things. They're generous with blood vials though, so that's not too bad. 20 bloodstone shards. Okay. Oh yeah, so this is an enemy type that we haven't really seen. In fact, I don't think we have seen. So this is our ordinary, you know, member of the Yanamite mob. He's angry. He's angry about, you know, he's xenophobic. He doesn't like people that aren't like him. But unlike anyone else, I mean, he hasn't got any speech lines, so he's not as interesting as maybe some of the other Yanamites can be. But instead of attacking you, instead of trying to rake your flesh or maim you, he throws oil. Like, it hurts, but not that much. And he's dedicated. He'll just keep at it. Oh, he's got a little kick. Quite a lot of health, but I love this enemy type because he'll just keep going. He'll make no attempt to advance on you. His AI is completely static. There are multiple zones in the game where you can stand perfectly still, and he'll just be lobbing the oil at you, and it will miss every single time. And he doesn't care. He's got a job to do. He throws the oil. This man dispenses the oil. I love him. Hello, tall boy. Oh no, it's gone so badly. Oh, I'm terrible. Ugh. Oof. Okay, I'm just gonna run past this thing. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Ugh, come on. Stop owning me. No owns of me, please. This was a terrible plan. There we go. No owns of me allowed. We're leaving with that gemstone. So yeah, this is really neat. This is like, I guess you could say this is like a thematic continuation of our ruralized Hemwick Charnel Lane, because this, while equally adjacent to Central Yarnum, is like, it's way more ruralized. There's, as far as we can see, there's almost no established, like, community here. This is all people, well, so far anyway, this is all, I mean, there's tons of, like, gravestones everywhere and stuff. Like, there are clearly people here, but, like, much less so than the Hemwick Charnel Lane, which was operating like some kind of medium-scale community, right? However, we can, in the distance, see dilapidated windmills. Like, they've fallen into such disuse that all of this stuff is growing on them, which again feeds into our theme of the distortion of the flow of time. But, like, I guess at least at this altitude, we can't really see too much going on here in terms of, I guess, civilization is the word you might use. So we're gonna hit this lamp. Which is good. It'll allow us to respawn here, which I'm interested in. We're gonna get owned by these crows, which I swear caught me every single time on my first playthrough of this game. It's just another little bit of like neat encounter design, I guess. Like, when your set design is as ostentatious and as broad as this, like, it's painted with very broad strokes. Like, when your world is decorated with things like gravestones and coffins, players don't think about it when you just decorate them everywhere. Like, they're everywhere. Look at it. But like, when they're everywhere, it means that the language of your visual style, the grammar of the tile set of your game, is such that hiding things in it makes perfect sense. So if I walk over here, I don't think twice about the fact that there are gravestones here, when in actual fact they can be hiding our ground-based enemies that we've seen before. And like, this is a sort of ascended version of hiding this one in the bushes over here. But like, hiding enemies in bushes is, you know, that's where you put them if you want to hide them. But hiding them behind gravestones is cool. And now for some even cooler encounter design. I think maybe, how will I go through this? I don't really know. Whew. Gun. Gun. It's further along than this, isn't it? Okay, let's go over this way first. So if Deanie is still in the chat, I feel like Deanie knows these things. Is to get the Canhurst summons, do I need to beat the Shadows of Yharnam or not? Or if anyone else knows, please let me know, because I do not remember. I mean, I'll probably just wander through and get to... Oh wait, is there... No, maybe I don't need to beat the Shadows of Yharnam. Okay. But yeah, so I'm just gonna walk through here and oh shit. How about that? I avoided the trap. Now, this is a really neat trap actually. Like, in a game series that is all about traps, like I contemplated getting hit by this trap just to show how much I like it. So this is obviously a trap, right? Like, you have a pile of logs on the floor, or not logs, planks on the floor that you know, clearly hides a pressure plate. Like, and you can see that from a lot of different angles. But like, also it's telegraphed enough, just enough, that when you trip it, you might be tempted to run back. And if you run back, because it swings, and like, you want to see what happens when it stops swinging, you watch it swing. So you probably, like, not the average case, but maybe the average case, I guess, is that you walk onto this pressure plate, you walk back off it, and you stand here, and you think, wow, I'm so smart for having avoided this trap. Literal frames before it snaps off and kills you. I love that. It's so good. Okay, cool. So, this is gonna be, rude. Extremely rude. So yeah, I'm basically just going to sort of scuttle through this area, get a decent amount of items if I can, and then try and get to the bottom. Because right at the bottom there's a boss who I'm probably not going to fight today. In fact, maybe that'll be the road test for our silly build. Because we can take another path and end up in Castle Canhurst, which is maybe the goal for the end of the stream, is to have obtained the Canhurst summons and maybe start going through Canhurst. So this is an interesting bit of encounter design, I guess, and like, you kind of saw me fall afoul of it earlier, is that like, this area, by introducing you to the oil throwers before you actually get to the torchbearers, this area wants you to think really hard about fire, and just like, you know, understand the way that fire relates to your position in any given combat situation. Because, like when I was fighting against the big axe friend, If you are just locking onto things and dodging, like, you have to be super, 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 super careful not to get hit by this fire, because it's actually kind of all over the place, in addition to the fire that is on these torches, right? And, like, I mentioned before that getting hit by the oil doesn't do very much damage, and the reason for that is because it covers you in oil, and oil is very flammable, which means that if you are, again, haphazardly dodging around, and your foot happens to clip one of these fires, you go completely up in flames. And it's a terrible, terrible, terrible time. And I like that a lot. You have, like, the oil and the fire are two separate things, like, that behave on completely different axes. Like, the way that you interact with and avoid each is completely different. But the interaction of those two things together makes a very interesting combat puzzle. Because if you only manage to avoid the oil, then the fire is still a small amount of damage, and if you only manage to avoid the fire, then the oil is a small amount of damage. But both of them together is a really, really, really bad time. And I just really like that. Ugh, rude. So yeah, for anyone who, is wondering or has noticed, that little triangle next to my stamina bar, or I guess near my item indicator, that is the "you are covered in oil" indicator, and it lasts for a sort of set period of time and then runs out. So yeah, that's just what I think about this little bit of combat design. Like, Bloodborne is a game with an already just a sort of kind of almost like a vulgar display of power and how good its core combat system design is. Like, so much thought has gone into how, in an infinite radial plane, you and a given enemy will interact with one another. And then on top of that, the environment design complements it in such a smart way. I love it. Bloodborne is, in many ways, an embarrassment of riches, and all of the riches are stabbing. So now, further and further down we get more and more and more signs of the community that maybe surrounds these disused mills that we've found, or the remnants of that community. And we see them here in like an interesting contrast to the mob in Centurianum. Like, unlike the mob in Centurianum, who are actively patrolling, running around the streets of Centurianum trying to clean things up, these folks aren't really doing anything. They're kind of just in their homes, or looking at walls like those lot. Like, even the folks at Henwick Charnel Lane, like, clearly there was something up with them. They were not okay, but they had something to do, even if it was a weird dance around the town square. These guys look almost bored, but they still got their torches out. They're still brandishing axes. They're still ready to kill, and that's interesting. That contrast is cool. There is a community of forgotten Yarnamites. There is there is an after for these people. They don't necessarily all become werewolf beasts. I mean, well, it doesn't necessarily go immediately from mob in Centurianum to werewolf beast. There is possibly either an intermittent step or like maybe like a divergent path for these things, and that's cool. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go up that additional path before we continue, because I think there are some dogs I can pet. You know, pet with my knives, but pet. Will is in the chat talking about the virus that turns people into werewolves, and I wish I'd modded regression because I could ban them. In fact, I should ban them. Thumbs up in the chat if you think I should ban Will. Rude. You're just gonna sit there, huh? Okay, fair enough, I guess. It's nice to have that, you know, insurmountable barrier right there, and then right next to it have a fucking chest-high wall that is an also insurmountable barrier. It just doesn't look like one. Ooh, this was close. Oh jeez. What up? God damn it! Wow, I deserved that. That was terrible. Okay. Let's see if I can get those echoes back. That would be nice. That would be real nice. Ooh, that's 4 thumbs up for banning Will. Next time. Next time on Mod Regression, they can ban Will. That'll be easy. Easy, cool, and good. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to run onto him. Sad. Oh, that Fierce does a lot of damage. So yeah, no pressure plate, no trap. I'm going to do my best to just leg it past these combat encounters that I waxed so poetic about. So I can go and get my echoes back, because this is not a playthrough where I'm going to want to waste any echoes. Because we need echoes to buy blood vials. And we need blood vials to play the game. Okay, I guess you have them. Suits me. And that's why you always pet the dogs. They get a lot of echoes. So this time we're not going to get owned by these dogs. Well, we're going to try not to get owned by these dogs. Okay, so some context for the previous comment about the virus that turns people into werewolves. Basically, I was just talking to someone about Bloodborne, and they were talking about it in a very sort of like, they basically insisted on talking about it as though it didn't have any themes, as though the transformation wasn't about anything. just as though, like, you know, it was a kind of analysis that was purely, I guess, purely empirical, like purely based on what was happening in the text, as though that was the totality of the text, and I found it very, very tedious. But we don't do that here. Here we talk extensively about themes and almost nothing about the literal events of the text, because everything is themes. Themes forever. A million years themes. I don't want to have to fight that bag man. Hello. Did he open the door again? That's quite funny. Oh no, he just never lowered it because this town is finished. Because I'm here. It's me, Jane Bloodborne. Disaster Knife Girl. Here to ruin your time. So yeah, like, I guess what I take away from this area the most is just how kind of muted it is. Like, there's no urgency to this space in a way that there is in pretty much every other area. Like, all the enemies in it are basically just trying to keep you out. They don't really try to chase you down. Ow! Excuse me! Yeah, they don't really try to chase you down. At best, you approach their defenses, and when you get close enough, they attack you. And that's kind of it. Which is very different from Centurion. I guess this presents a kind of a complicity in the levels of like xenophobia and fear of the other that we've seen from the other denizens of Centurion, but not so fanatical. Like, this is in many ways exactly as ugly as the kinds of things that we have seen in Centurion, but there is an important distinction to be made between them. There does exist a brand of xenophobia and cultural fear that considers itself to be less virulent and actively harmful than the kinds of things that are maybe the parallels to that in Centurionum, which is, you know, actively seeking out the other in order to rout them from your midst. But these are the same enemy types. They attack us the same way and they kill us the same way. Like, it's the same. Ow. Okay, this is bad. Oof. Okay. So that's this cleared out, which actually makes the next bit a lot easier, I think. Regression, yes, you did miss an explanation for why Will should be banned, or rather you missed an explanation for the inside joke that we were so rudely indulging in on stream. I apologise. But when I upload the video on demand later this week, you'll be able to see it, so stay tuned for that. Anyone else who doesn't know, I am recording all of these streams and I will be uploading them to my YouTube channel at some point. So in case you ever miss one, they will be going there eventually, I promise. The next episode of my YouTube stuff will be hopefully finished this week. The script is all done. I actually just found out the other day I do need to take some more footage, so the footage is almost all taken. It's just in the edit now. Literalist. That's what I would have called that reading of the text. Not empirical, literalist. Everything just happens. This is a game about werewolves. in the same way that, you know, Dawn of the Dead is a movie about zombies. And, like, this is a kind of, I guess, you know, this is no massive sin or anything. Like, media literacy is hard, readings of media are hard. So, like, if you came away from Dead Rising, I mean, I said Dead Rising, I meant Dawn of the Dead. They're the same. But yeah, if you came away from Dawn of the Dead thinking that it was about zombies, that's fine. You know, you haven't hurt anyone by doing that, and, you know, it's cool. It's chill. But ultimately, that text has very, very, very unsubtle themes, and, like, I think that asserting that over a thematic reading of a text is, you know, maybe not the best. And that's my, that's as negative as I'm going to be on this stream, I promise. Rude. Should have died. So this is going to be another one of those combat encounters where I talk about how much I like the design while not showing you the full extent of it, because falling into this trap would take quite a lot of time. But this is trying to present you with a wide open space to tempt you. I think this happens in at least Dark Souls 2, maybe in Dark Souls 1 as well, with just this big old hole in the floor. And if you fall down there, obviously you take some fall damage. If you've taken some damage already, you might even die. And there are some of our big, loud, angry crows down there just to loudly and damagingly punish you for your mistake. There is some stuff down there, I think, but we're not going to go and get it right now. And that is where, like, this is an interesting way in which the combat design of these enemies that don't really attempt to pursue you, comes into play, because in order to interface with this group of enemies, in order to, you know, engage with this level in any meaningful way, you have to move from this space, which is the next most interesting location, to that space, and to do that you have to just slightly cross over this hole. And I like that. I think that's really cool. Oh wow, you survived from earlier, huh? That's quite funny. You came from down there. So this is a neat callback. Like, not only does this society, like, I don't know. This is probably maybe the first time in the stream where I would give you I would totally give it to you if you said I was reaching here. But, like, this society, despite thinking of itself, like, despite behaving in a more muted, behaving in a more reserved way, not actively pursuing the other which it intends to oust, it still has these downtrodden people, these people who, legless, crawl around in its sewers. I think that's a really neat touch. It keys us into the idea that these people, even though they might have a less harmful, quote-unquote less harmful idea of, of purity, of ousting the other, they still end up marginalizing their people in such a way that they become these strange sewer beasts. Also, their sewer is full of oil, probably because this chap here is just constantly throwing oil. Maybe this is why they're always throwing it, because they've got so much of it to get rid of. This is quite funny. So yeah, that's a rough combat encounter, so we're going to avoid that. See, look, they burn even their own. Class. It's a powerful thing. So we get to go through here, get some fat loot. Oh, 2 sets of Twin Bloodstone shards. Open this door, means we don't have to go through the oil gulch ever again, which is good, because it's nasty. And now I think we're actually getting close to where we wanted to go, which is nice. I like to get to where I want to go. So Lotus is in the chat saying these dudes show up in the Arnhem sewers, and these dudes showing up in the Arnhem sewers is exactly what I'm trying to get at here. Is that even though the mob of Central Yharnam is more actively aggressive than the people in the Forbidden Woods, even though there is that on the surface that difference between them, the fact that the sewer people show up in the Central Yharnam sewers as well as these sewers tells us that these two peoples are the same, despite this difference in how they enact their, toxic ideology. As Rereshin is saying in the chat, there are hierarchies everywhere, and you like, even without doing anything, quote unquote doing anything, you end up reinforcing them. Bloodborne is a game that is very extensively about that. So yeah, we're just going to continue to progress through here. So this is maybe I would say the second most interesting combat set piece in this sort of higher area of the Forbidden Woods. I guess I would say is that the villagers, they have a cannon which they will fire at you, which is cool as hell. And because of the nice physics engine this game is made on, it shatters these houses. That's cool as heck. That's maybe not so cool as heck, but... Ooh. Wow, instantly died. That's hilarious. Ooh. Arse. Oh, did I just lose all the chat? That's so annoying. Oh well, it's back. Well, I guess we're back to running. Ugh. So yeah, I guess the main thing that the Forbidden Woods is conveying, at least to me in my thoroughly class-based analysis of this game, is that the idea that even just defensively, even if you tell yourself that you won't react unless pushed, xenophobia and fear of the other is still an inherently damaging ideology. Like, you can do that damage even if you never punch anyone. And that's an interesting thing, I think, for Bloodborne to touch on. It's a kind of... The idea that sort of inactive complicity in toxic ideology is a really bad thing is something that develops over the course of Bloodborne in a subtle way. Like, it's not a huge theme of the game, but it is certainly a theme of the game. Oh, I just want to kill this Echo's friend. really did think I'd have been able to avoid that cannon, but no. Not that time, it seems. Oof. Bummed. Yeah, we're absolutely stacked on bullets, huh? Okay, I'm just going to rush this cannon is what I'm going to do. And this is like it's a cool action set piece, like, you know, I mean, it is just sort of kind of over now, but like when you rush towards the cannon, like, you run the risk of pulling every enemy in this zone, which I think is cool. Also, is there stuff in these houses that you can only get if the cannon smashes it? Maybe not. Okay. But yeah. Yeah, there's a cool, like, risk-reward thing going on there, which I like. And it does it in a, you know, a very aesthetically cool way that I like. But I guess with that we're getting to the end of the explicitly above villagey part of the Forbidden Woods, which means we're fairly close to the next... Yeah, here we go. So, can we see this from the outside actually, while we're here? So yeah, this is one of our old disused mills, and we're going to go inside. And have a look at who's at home. Now you can kind of see that this friend here is a slightly different mobster to the one that we've seen, and he's got a bit of a headache because it's full of snakes. And this is what's forbidden about the Forbidden Woods, I guess. It's all the snakes. Wow, I'm just doing 0 damage to this guy, huh? That's bad. That's really, really bad. Shit. Just gonna try and avoid them, I guess. No snakes for me, sir. I've eaten already. This was a bad plan. Oop. So one of the reasons that we want to get in here is that it bridges the gap with the previous area, as you can see. Wait, no, as you will be able to see when I activate the shortcut, which is over here, I guess. Yes. Device not currently operable. Okay, that's a different shortcut, I guess. Which means that this shortcut's definitely around here somewhere, right? Oh, Jesus. This is awkward. I expected this shortcut to be here. Maybe I've missed it. Maybe it's somewhere else near here. So... No. No, we're definitely going the right way. Oh, do you have to... Oh, well, cool. Water and bloodstone shards. Never goes amiss. Okay, instead of that, I think you have to run out of the door at the bottom to get to this shortcut. Ignore snake friend. Yeah, it's like out here somewhere. But yeah, so this is like a neat thing, is that this is actually the enemy that we saw from up there. So it's really neat that you see this enemy walking across the bridge bearing a light. Like, the game wants you, when you see it from that vantage point, to pick out that enemy. And in doing so, by the time you get here, what it means is a completely different thing. Like, you expect it to be an ordinary humanoid enemy, but it's not. It's very much not. And I like that. It gives a new perspective on old information in a really satisfying way. So this is the shortcut we were looking to open. There's a friend over here. I think he's an Old Hunters edition. has a bucket on his head.
Ah, yes, yeah. And an accomplished hunter. I am Walter, master of the League. Members of the League cleanse the streets of all the filth and spit when hunt. Any half-decent hunter ought to. I've seen enough of these wretched beasts, freakish slugs and mad doctors. Sentence these fiends to death with the help of your League confederates.
Oof.
Why not join the League?
So yeah, just in case you didn't get all of the things that he was saying there, all of the little hints he was dropping there, talking about filth, cleansing the streets of filth, talking about fiends. At the end, he refers to the League as confederates, which, you know, just in case you didn't get it. So yeah, I don't actually know too much about the League. The League, like, you know, what the gameplay actions involved in the League are, but I don't like this guy. And like, as soon as he says confederates, you see his uniform in a totally different light. You think, ah, yes, I see what they were going for here. Which, in retrospect, makes it a little funnier that he's wearing a bucket with one eye hole on his head. So we will not be joining the League. Again, really neat. That crow has almost definitely respawned by the time you open that door. And every time you open the door, the crow's like, hey, pay attention to me. That's cool. Because when you're opening doors, subtly your brain is going, aha, I'm safe, because your doors give you invincibility frames. Like, if you're being attacked by monsters, you run towards a door, you mash X to get those invincibility frames, get you free, and move you through to another area. While you're in those invincibility frames, going from silence to crow screaming is really cool. I like that. And this is already something I thought was cool just because it was hidden by the gravestones. And that kind of multi-layered, spatially folded level design is Soulsborne to a T. I love it. We're going to spend these echoes before we lose them again. Probably on, I don't know, leveling up, I guess. Does my blade have a dexterity scaling? Actually, wait, what's our dexterity right now? Is a fine question. Skill, rather, sorry. 20. Okay, we could go a bit higher than that now. Do we have a dexterity scaling? No. So actually, because I have just the most twin bloodstone shards, I am going to upgrade my Blades of Mercy one more time, because that gets us to A scaling on our weapon. A scaling is pretty good. That's in fact really, really good, because it means that every additional point that we put into skill is worth a whole lot more, like a lot more. Also, it gives us another blood gem slot. Oh wait, doesn't it? No, the next one up gives us another blood gem slot. Okay, that's fine, I get. This gives us more attack, it looks like. Marginally. Yeah, okay, sold. And so does this. 30, we're looking to beat 38. And we can't, so this it is. So yeah, we got up to A scaling, which means we have a lot of echoes left, which means provided we don't need to buy many more blood vials, which we don't, we get to level up, and we'll probably put some points into skill, and it will be the last lot of points we put into skill, because any more than 25 is too much. And as you'll hopefully be able to see, look at that damage increase. Whoa. Whoa. Good as heck. Good as heck. Regression has hopefully pointed out that a fair amount of the boost that I've applied is only on when I'm at full health, but I try to be at full health quite a lot of the time. Like judicious use of rally and blood vials, I think I should be fine. Like, I don't have a lot of vitality at the moment as it is, so I don't try and stick around at below 100% health. Plus, like, look at all that damage. It's so much damage. I can't really say no to that damage, especially in the face of that snake, which just took no damage from anything that I did. But that is the last lot of skill that we are getting. All blood tinge from here, baby. Blood tinge and vitality. forever. 1 million years, blood tinge and vitality. In fact, let's get started on that right hecking now. How much do we need to level up? Oh wait, never mind, we needed 10k? I thought we had slightly more than we did. Never mind. Let's go back to the Forbidden Woods. Lotus is in the chat saying, what's to be worried about? Just don't get hit. Exactly. Not getting hit is my MO. I love not getting hit. I get hit a lot, but that's always not my plan. I think there are builds where you want to get hit. There certainly are in Dark Souls, maybe there are in this game, but this is not one of those. This is a never getting hit build. Oh, wow. So Whelpkelp has just informed me that the item description governing the vermin that the League hunt explicitly says, you see vermin if you wish to, and that's just perfect. That's so good. Because, like, wow. Could they be trying any harder to label that ideology as toxic, as the, like, you just... It's a conscious choice to see vermin. Like, wow, that's so good. This game, folks, it's really something. Right, how much damage am I going to do to this snake friend now? Still not much. I mean, enough, but not much. Ow, 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 ow. Oh, fuck. Shit. Okay, so we lose about 10% of our damage. No, maybe, yeah, about 10% of our damage when we drop below full health, which is maybe not terrible. Maybe like 15%. I'm okay with that. So yeah, another interesting point, I guess, is that these snake people, these people for whom snakes literally explode from their heads, are, I guess, sort of an early hint at kinds of beastliness that are not the werewolf-like transformation we've seen from the members of the Central Yana mob. And now we can see that there indeed exists a kind of snake in this wood that is completely without person attached. It just is a ball of snakes. I know this is wild, because this is some people's worst fear, is a group of snakes that have become a kind of like a snake king, a rat king of snakes, all just moving together as a gestalt snake entity, and I kind of love that it's in this game. But yeah, they can exist without the people. A snake with no beginning and no ending, only teeth. I like that. So yeah, we're going to try and get to the bottom of this area, because hopefully we should be able to make the stream goal in the next however long this stream lasts. Ooh. Ouchie, that's a lot of poison. Wow, we're just being absolutely blessed. Absolutely hashtag blessed with twin bloodstone shards right now. So luckily that upgrade is more than equipped us to dispatch with the regular clouds of snakes, which is good. That'll make getting through this area a little bit easier. So we're kind of left to it, like, from the relative size of the snakes involved, we're kind of left to assume that this thing is a kind of, maybe like a previous stage in the life cycle for this thing. Like, do these snakes, like, you know, they visibly explode from the bodies of these humans. Like, there's a lot of like parasite imagery here. Jesus. I want to finish this one off. Okay, that makes it easier. But yeah, lots of parasite imagery here. I think that's cool. That's a cool choice. It speaks to a kind of beastlyhood. Like, werewolf imagery is like a gothic horror trope that preys on the idea that humans have like emotional depths that are ugly and that they cannot control, but like that maybe represent a part of them that they wish they were able to express, which is why they are so heavily tied to the Yarnamites and their what they would consider defensible but is ultimately toxic and damaging idea of xenophobia and fear of the other. Whereas these like parasitic snake imageries they speak to a completely different kind of fear. They speak to a different kind of worry that is nonetheless like related to the kinds of things that werewolves are preying on. The idea of werewolves is preying on. Like, I don't know, I guess I would say that like a parasitic fear, like a fear that centers around the idea of something overtly monstrous, like a huge like cluster of snakes living in your body and taking from you, like taking from the work of your body to feed itself, and then ultimately destroying you in its own self-interest is like, that's a completely different kind of fear, but it nonetheless, like, this betrayal of your body is a sort of a binding theme between these two things. Like, whereas with the parasites, you have an outside entity destroying your body selfishly. With the werewolves, you lose control of your body to yourself. And I think that's an interesting parallel that nonetheless, I guess, serves to highlight the differences between these two kinds of these two monstrous entities in this world. Because it allows you to view these xenophobias as different things, I guess, but with nonetheless a binding theme between them. Oh, so we go from phase 1, snake parasite explode out of head, to phase 2, cloud of snakes crawl along forest floor, to whatever the hell that thing is. Huge miasma of snakes get caught on fire and burned to death. But yeah, they big. They real big. And like any old snake enemy, of course, like any good snake enemy, they're trying to poison you at every possible opportunity. This thing is really not going to stop following me, huh? Oh, nearly dashed off the edge there. That was close. Right, I'm just going to kill this thing because it's not going to stop following me. So yeah, these... that was close. So these things are a cool subversion of the design paradigm we've seen already, whereby they literally have the wind-up animations of attacks that we've seen before. The thing pulls back the axe and does a predictable attack animation. But then, obviously, because it's got a load of snake heads, they can attack you independently of that. And that's a cool thing to have to, like, train yourself out of, I guess. But, like, it's obvious when you think about it, right? But because you've trained yourself to believe that the game obeys a rule that you've imposed upon it, it's nonetheless weird. It's difficult for you to, it's a difficult habit for you to break. I think that's cool. So we'll probably go up there later, but for now we're going to descend because we like descending. And I think there's another shortcut we can enable if we just run a little bit more. Whoop. Excuse me. Alright. So I believe this is... Oh, fuck. Okay, having short attacks here is really doing me dirty. Oh, jeez. That's a lot of damage. I'm gonna disengage. Okay. Can we open that door from here? I hope so. Come on, get up here. Okay, I guess you're not going to do that. Oh, ow! Rude! So rude! Long snake. Whoop. Hope this works. Nope, okay. So we've gone the wrong way at a bad time. Cool. Disengage. And try and regroup. Try and rally, you might say. I don't want to fight this thing. And yet, here we are. I think I'm going up now, which is not... No, never mind. Back down. Okay, this is where I wanted to be, because I believe this is... Yeah, there's a pig. And... there's some crouches. Yeah, the shortcut is around here somewhere. But where? Okay. If memory serves, this is the way to the area boss, which means we want to go the other way. See if we can kite this pig somehow, because I really don't want to risk getting killed in one hit by it. Cool. Oof, jeez. Wow, I've not got killed by that like twice now. That's pretty funny. Okay. I think we're super close to the checkpoint, the shortcut here. Yeah, here we go. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. That makes doing this next bit a lot easier. Whew. Yeah, so this area is, I guess, a sort of an interesting design case study because it demonstrates that sort of panicked dash through lots of pretty similar looking wooden grotto or stone grottos was it sort of demonstrates by contrast quite how striking and easy to navigate the areas of, say, Central Yharnam and Old Yharnam were. Like, part of that is because they are urban adjacent environments, but also just like the pathing through them, because it's so right angled, because it's so sharp, it's easy for your mind to pick apart. It's easy to remember the way through it. Whereas in that area, you kind of have to think, well, I kind of remember going like this way, and this way, but not. And because it all looks the same, like you make turns early, you make them late. Like it's not the best. It could be better. With all that said, I think it's a cool area. But now we have the second shortcut, which means we can more easily attempt the next leg of this journey. People in the chat are talking about using a map for this area. That is completely understandable. If you want to use maps for video games, I absolutely recommend it. In fact, in video games maybe less complex than this one, I heartily recommend drawing your own. Drawing your own map with a pen and paper is cool as hell. However, I have never used a map for Bloodborne. I used a map. I think I used a map my first time through the original Dark Souls, and then once again in Dark Souls 3, because I got so bored of trying to navigate the Great Swamp in Dark Souls 3 that I just gave up. But by and large, I found that Bloodborne's environments, even the ones like these, are diverse enough for me to be able to navigate myself. But, you know, that's a personal thing. Yeah, Lotus in the chat is saying that they just did things the old-fashioned way and was lost for a really long time until eventually you memorized everything's locations. And that's what I've done. Not very well, but it's what I've done. So, here's the thing. In this area, there are fireflies. Now, fireflies are a kind of interesting visual indicator for us, because so far, we've seen almost no non-hostile wildlife. Barring the reincarnation of Eileen the Crow, this sort of existence of fireflies in this area should signify something to us. Like, you could argue pretty convincingly that this light in a dark place, like seeing it from, say, down here, this light from a dark place draws you in this direction and is more likely to have you find the shortcut. But it's also going to signify something else to us, and it's to go this way. And like, you know, non-hostile wildlife, or just, I guess, because the other thing is that obviously there's the literalist idea that, you know, they have fireflies are insects that aren't out to actively harm us, or, you know, giant with loads of teeth. So that itself is noteworthy. But also they have like symbolic significance, right? There are lots of cultures that, well, like the cultures interrogate fireflies pretty differently, but because of the way that they look, I guess, and the way that they emit light in a way that many other animals don't, in like a natural way, that's kind of cool and interesting and otherworldly, I guess. And I don't know if you can hear that sound, but things have just gotten weird. So these, Jesus, ow, these are completely new types of life for us. For us, this is pretty much first contact, because not only do we have gelatinous blue, glowing-eyed creatures with long arms, long fingers, a weird glow about them, but also that one that we can see in the distance, it's got tentacles, it's got weird brain feelers. So something is going on here. However, they're not too different from the kind of life that we've encountered already, because we can stab them to death. And stabbing them to death is what we will do. So the existence of this here, this is actually the most interesting thing about these creatures. So you see these tentacled ones? What are they doing? They are casting spells. Arcane magic. Arcane magic identical, well not identical, but very visually similar to the kinds of things that the Witch of Hemwick was doing. And any other arcane spell will bear this visual theme. And this is like this is huge in the context of Bloodborne. Because in a game so much about heredity, in a game so much about history, in a game about what has happened, and like, you know, everything came from somewhere, the idea that aliens are casting, well, aliens, you know, the idea that otherworldly creatures, maybe aliens, are casting spells is huge. Because, you know, maybe you think that humans taught these aliens to cast spells. Or, you know, maybe you think aliens taught magic to humans. Which, coupled with some things that we're going to learn about the various magic using factions of the world of Bloodborne, starts to get quite interesting. But for now, I'm just going to stab all of these aliens. And I guess part of the sort of the visual signifier that this is more of a, like, you know, less of a new civilization. Well, basically, we can sort of take visual cues that these things are alien to this area because they what's it? Like the visual language of this area that we are kind of believing at this point belongs exclusively to the people of this area. Like, there are still gravestones everywhere. Like, nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed, they stick out against this landscape, right? I don't know. I think that's cool. Now, how navigate area? Willis in the chat saying that they enjoy how visually marine these aliens are, and by Jove, you've got it. I guess I could have started making this point pretty much immediately, but like, the first two things that you think when you see these things are mushroom, and then you see the tentacled one and you think, aha, jellyfish. Because they feed into our very, very unsubtle point that the church is very, very, very visually marine. There's a lot of sea life imagery going on here. Now, I can't remember how to get past this part. I can't remember how to do this. This is annoying. Is there another way around? Do I need to get here from higher up? I'm gonna explore. Using the fact that these spaces are so regularly continuous, I'm going to explore. If anyone knows how to get past this section, feel free to sound off in the chat, because I've not done it in some time. But other than that, I'm just going to have a look around. Go higher up, have a look around. So yeah, like the use of marine life imagery in this game is just so good, and like I've talked extensively about how much I like it in this game, the effect to which it's used, and I will continue to talk extensively about it. But like, one of what I will talk about now, as I think it is the most interesting, is one of the things that I like the most about Bloodborne's use of a sort of, it's a delicate visual theme, this idea of abyssal marine life. There's a delicate visual theme, but it's one that you can, if you choose to, apply very heavy-handedly. So, like we just saw, that jellyfish imagery would have difficulty being too much clearer. Like, the thing is that, like, there are lots of examples of that marine life imagery that are overt, they're clear. They're there for anyone who is sensitive to them to pick them up. However, there does exist. The imagery is applied on such a broad scale, and it's like not only at such a broad scale, but to every tiny detail of the church's design. Like we were talking about last time, the gravestone that marks out the church-related area of the game has tiny little seashell designs on it. And that is so good, because it means that the themes are available to anyone who is sensitive to them, anyone who wants to pick them up, but also there's a whole load of depth to them. There's, I went the wrong way, no. There's a whole load of depth to them. Like, for anyone who is really into doing some digging, they're there too. This is not where I thought it would be. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of chasing my tail at this point. If anyone in the chat can, in a very short sentence, sum up how to get to the clinic back entrance from here, that would be swell. Because I do not remember how. I thought it was that alleyway here, and that doesn't seem to be working for me. Maybe that's the way back. I don't know. I'll keep... Oh wait, never mind. No, yeah, I'll keep noodling around here for a while until either someone in the chat is able to provide that for me, or I bump into it myself. Yay! Video games. But yeah, like there are tons of games that thread together like factions or morality with consistent imagery, but the extreme majority case is that all exists on basically one level. Like all the characters who are evil will have, you know, a sharp flower theme or something, and you know, it will all be like that, I guess. Everything will apply at roughly the same frequency, but like really good use of imagery, it happens across all scales, and if you're feeling particularly bold, you can apply it, you can thread it between different factions to apply a connection between them. Bloodborne does all of these things, and it does them really, really well. I like it a lot. Bloodborne's a good game. Does anyone know that? It's so good. It's so good. Oh, okay. I thought it was later than the bit near the dog cages, but I guess I was wrong. Okay, well, I guess we'll go there then. We can just run up this hill. Run up this road. I'll do my best to not start singing Kate Bush on this stream. You don't want to hear my singing voice, it's bad. My index finger is getting really bored of being in the claw position to sprint. I'll have them swap for a while. Ba-da-ba-ba. Okay. Owned. Some loot in here. Do I want it? Do I even care? No. Lol. Okay. Chat is pretty adamant about me singing Kate Bush, so I'm gonna promise that if I can get to how many? If I can get to 10,000 YouTube subs, I will do a Kate Bush stream. And that is a promise. I'll upload this video to YouTube, so there is forever evidence of that promise. So, If you want to see the Kate Bush stream, you better get evangelizing. I fully expect to never get more than another 5 YouTube subs. Oh hey, the dogs are out of their cages now. That's cool. So, the bit with all the dog cages, is that this bit, or is there another bit? Talk to me, stream. Oh, is it up here? Ah, aha! Aha! I've been owned. Well, I'm glad we went the other way, because we got to see the mushroom friends. The blue people. Ooh. Strange flowers. This is a shiny new visual theme. I wonder what it could imply. Let's wait until we have some more information. I love how suave all of the dead people look. They're always carrying stuff. I love it. Oof. Look at that. That's a good image. So, I think the thing I like the most about this design is it's got a bell around its neck to call back to the last time you saw an enemy of an even comparable stature, which is the giant things noodling around in the Cathedral Ward. Like, an obvious visual comparison to them is meant to be drawn, especially coupled with those giant tombstones. Why would anyone ever make a tombstone that big? It looks so cool. I love it. I love it. So I'm not gonna fight these things because I don't really want to do that. Oh, leeches. I hate leeches. Okay. Yeah, we can go up here. So yeah, I guess the big tombstones are a really interesting thing actually, and the fact that these wandering giants are sort of wandering around near them is also interesting, right? Because like this is way underground. This is clearly like some kind of ostentatious tomb, I guess, because there are tons of bodies down there and giant tombstones and giant guards. And the only other places that we've seen those guards is the cemetery and the Cathedral Ward, and the size of those tombstones kind of leads us to believe that maybe they're tombs to important figures, right? And I guess it's this idea of, because so you have cemetery guards that are clearly like, they're pretty important. You can't just throw around people that big. They don't grow on trees. And you have cemetery guards, you have important tombstones, and you have lots and lots of bodies. But like it's all way underground. So what is it? Is it like a crypt for the church? Is it like a burial ground for religious figures? Is it what is it? We don't really know. But what we do know is it's kind of been left behind. It's a part of Yharnam's history that no one really engages with anymore. And I think that's kind of cool. And we get that from the visual flair of those the models on those giant guards being without their characteristic hats and cloaks. Oof. I'm still in a dream, Bloodborne. And here we are. Where, you ask? Why, let me tell you. It's only bloody Central Yharnam. Wow. Isn't that cool? Now we've not actually been here, but we've been near here before. This is in fact, wait, is this the right way? I can't remember if this is the right way. I want to make sure I go the right way because I don't want to miss this, because this is a pretty important part of this playthrough. Nope. just to kind of hammer home this idea of that burial ground, is it's literally in a grave. Like, you dig down in a grave and you find more graves. Not only more graves, more important graves, but we've buried people on top of the buried people we have forgotten. Like, the history of death in Yharnam is strong, and this is not like an ordinary cemetery. This is a private cemetery. There's 6 graves here. That's kind of cool. I like that a lot. In a world that, in a city that is clearly like overwhelming with dead people. The I guess the privately wealthy have been able to pave over that history and replace it with their own comparably underwhelming history. I think that's cool. That's really cool. Right. So we are. Let me just get my bearings. Yeah, back at Central Yharnam. So okay. So this is Central Yharnam right at the beginning of the game. You see, in there is Yusefka's clinic, where we were at the very beginning of the game, and yeah, she wasn't very nice to us. She told us to go away. So what if, instead of being told to go away, we happened to find a back entrance? What kind of thing might we find? Another shaman enemy thing. Now, this is another situation where I don't really want to see the full extent of this enemy's moveset, because if I get killed by it, I'll be set back quite a way. So I'm just going to ignore it and climb this ladder. Because where we're going, we don't need shamans. What we need is a back entrance to Yusefka's clinic, which we are rapidly approaching. Because, for reasons that will gradually become clear, Yusefka's clinic has no open doors, but what it does have is open windows. Or other, I guess, upper doors? I don't know, this doesn't really look like a window. I guess this is a door, but it's a door to a roof. Man, Gothic architecture is cool as hell. So Yusefka's clinic is a darker place than maybe she wanted us to believe. Here we are. Someone in the chat is asking if Yusefka asks us to gather people to tell them that this is a safe place. She does indeed, and we're about to find out why. Is this the door to the... Yeah, it totally is, huh? Oh wait, no it isn't, never mind. I thought... So yeah, the words of a normal and well-adjusted human being, which again breaks down into rapturous laughter. So we're going to leave that room for now. And instead end up in here. What's this, I wonder? Why on earth does Yusefka, a normal and well-adjusted human being, have a dead alien on an operating table? What could that imply? One wonders. And a communion rune, even. Can we see our runes from here? We can. More blood vials. So yeah, communion being the process of blood ministration is something that is repeated. It is in The phrase partake of communion features in the prayer that Amelia is chanting to try and ward away the hunt when we bumped into her. May ye partake of communion is something that gets said a lot. And there's a not dead, but actually living alien in through that hole. So let's go say hi. Or do we even need to say hi? Can we just leave it? Because I think that is what we came for. That is the Canhurst summons. Now, a really intriguing thing to note about Yosefka here is that right there is the door to her clinic. That's the entrance that we've seen before, where if you knock, Yosefka makes some weird noises and then says, please bring people to come to my clinic. But when you arrive, she's not there. But this is. What could that mean, I wonder? We're gonna just gently walk out of here because I'm gonna leave that alien as it is. But yeah, so we have just found the Canhurst summons, which is not a usable item, I guess. It's here somewhere. Here it is, a key item. An old bloodstained summons inviting an honoured guest to the forsaken castle Canhurst. Rather bafflingly, it is addressed to you. Do not hesitate, the stagecoach leaves from Hemwick Crossing. Which is curious, because not only has a letter from a place we've never heard of come addressed to us, but also it requires us to go to Hemwick Crossing. Now, I didn't make much noise about this when it happened because I completely forgot that the letter mentioned it, but Hemwick Crossing is a broken bridge to nowhere. So what might be waiting for us at the other end? Oh well, when we try to answer this summons. Let's find out. And I think finding out will be where this stream probably ends, because we have easy access to a lantern in Centurionum. Let's fight this thing now. Wow, that's a lot of health you've got there, sir. Excuse me. Let me just disengage briefly. Ooh, damage. So yeah, some bullets, some knowledge. Okay. So yeah, we're off back to Hemwick Charnel Lane to go to a broken bridge to answer this summons. And we're going to go via, I think, the nearest lantern, which is this one up here. We're going to trundle on past. Note that the werewolf has despawned. There is no werewolf there now at this stage of night. And right up there is the door to the clinic with the alien. In fact, while we're here, let's knock. See what happens.
Oh, well, hello.
How very curious.
Let me ask you a small kindness. You're soon off to hunt, I presume? Then, if you find any survivors, tell them to seek Yosefka's clinic. Upon my Hippocratic oath, if they are yet human, I will look after them. Perhaps even cure them. This sickness, these beasts, they are not to be feared. This time the night is long. I may be trapped here, but I should do something to help. I'll even offer a reward for your cooperation. Tempted? Well, off you go then.
So yeah. there's an alien right on the other side of that door. I mean, we can see from here. There's also Yosefka. You can kind of see her through the cracks. But when we try and go to see her, she threatens to kill us. And on the other side of that door, there's an alien. So something is up with Yosefka. And indeed, if we'd sent anyone to be safe with her, they would have met the brunt of that themselves. And I guess the key thing that you want to sort of remember from Yosefka's speech is she says that she will only treat and potentially cure people you send her if they are yet human. And Yosefka's perception of the idea of humanity is a key linchpin of her character. I guess it's not so much an arc as just the progression it goes through. Yeah. Yosefka has some interesting ideas about humanity, and actually ideas about humanity that kind of form the thematic conclusion to part of the thematic conclusion to this game. So we are going to level up.
Welcome. What is it?
We're going to channel some blood echoes, get some vitality, because the next stage of the game is gonna really test us. Probably want to be 20 vitality.
Farewell.
Yeah, so we're gonna go to the old Hemwick Charnel Lane. We probably could have gone to the Witch's Abode actually. Could we? Yeah, but that's fine. We're here now. We're here now. This is timed pretty well. We've got a little bit of time left, and we're right up at the end of the stream. I'm just going to run past these friends. Excuse me. Excuse me. This is a neat thing. After you kill the... Wait, maybe it's... Is it after you kill the witch? It might be even be an insight-related thing. But the elite mobs that I made such a big deal about not fighting turn up in the ordinary levels. That's neat. If you've made an enemy design you like, why not put it other places? I'm a big fan of that kind of weirdly economical encounter design. It's cool. I dig it. As much as it shows how, like, it's a flex to design a cool enemy for exactly one fight, it's also cool to just sprinkle it in other places. You know, you want people to see that enemy that you made. Especially if they're pricks like me who insist on not playing your boss the way that you wanted it to. So we're going to kill these doggos. I think we're probably going to try and kill these axe friends as well. Oh, okay. Seems like I've neutralized enough of the enemies in the area to activate the Canhurst Crossing event. So we see a horse and carriage with no driver approaching from a bridge that we happen to know doesn't go anywhere. The door slides open, the dry ice pours out. It's all very horrifying. We like that. We like that a lot. So we're going to get in, rather than fight those axe friends. People in the chat are still tilting out about me pronouncing it Canhurst, and as we are on our way to Canhurst, I think it might be time to get over that, because I'm going to be saying it a lot. So yeah, off we go, making the Canhurst Crossing. So immediately we have some snow, which is new. We haven't had snow before. We haven't really had weather before. We've had a change in time of the evening, but we haven't had any weather. So yeah, this is Canhurst Castle, thought to be lost for some very long time. And this is, I think, at least sort of in terms of a mechanical narrative, very much the linchpin of this playthrough of Bloodborne, because this bit's going to be difficult. Welcome to the Forsaken Camhurst Castle. So, this is the bridge that we crossed. Apparently. Over there, we can see all of Yharnam, the coast of Yharnam, that a couple of episodes ago I told you went nowhere. And indeed it looked like it went nowhere. But clearly, it led us here. To the frozen island of Camhurst. And this is like thematically already an interesting idea, because I was talking about how seeing the coast gave you a sort of broader perspective on Yharnam. It convinced you that even though Yharnam seemed like an endlessly sprawling space from the central Yharnam town section, seeing the coast gave it a finality, it gave it an edge, it defined it as a space. Now we've gone past that, but not only have we gone past that, we've seen that beyond the edges of... Oh, is that gate is opening, and portcullis is raising. They have been expecting me, clearly. But yeah, we can see beyond Yharnam, like beyond the very gothic spires and steeples. There's a lot more. There's actually a whole relatively featureless world beyond Yharnam, and that's pretty cool. Like we've our old horizon has literally been shattered and replaced with this new one. I like that a lot. So, having been summoned, having received a letter addressed to us from people we didn't know, having the haunted fucking stagecoach come for us, having the portcullis open unbidden, the question immediately becomes, what were we summoned for? Why are we here? Where are we? Who summoned us? So many questions, so little time. Indeed, little enough time that is going to be the end of this episode of Jane Bloodborne's House of Eyeballs. Thank you once again for everyone who's decided to hang out this evening. It's been a blast. I love playing Bloodborne. I love talking about Bloodborne with you folks, and I hope you enjoy watching. Thank you for the subscription at the beginning of the stream, but I can see people in the chat are already streaming their screams that this stream has ended, but that means that next week I get to talk extensively about Castle Camhurst, which is not only one of my favourite sections of this game, indeed it is such a good section of this game, it could be its own game. But before, at risk of me talking any further about that, I'm going to call this stream done. So, thank you everybody for coming out. Hopefully I will see you next week.